Hello, everyone. Welcome, Joe and Charlie and Beverly and everyone else that's chiming in those comments there. We're so excited to have you guys. We are getting started shortly. Hey, Freddie. Hey, Jeff. Everyone else hopping on. So excited to have you all here. We are getting started in just about 4 minutes, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you guys are ready to go. We've got a lot to cover with you today. Well, officially, welcome to the partner broadcast today, everyone. We're so excited to have you here with us. Now, for those of you who maybe just need a reminder or our newest partners that are on here for their first time, there are 3 ways to watch today's broadcast. So, we do have it live on the live web stream page. However, we highly recommend that you head on over to Facebook or YouTube. YouTube being the best recommendation, has the most interactive ability in the chat there with us, as well as viewability. So if you're not there, head on over there right now so you don't miss any of the content to the YouTube page. One of the reasons we want you to be interactive is we do kit giveaways during these broadcasts. And in order to be entered in those kit giveaways, you do have to be liking our Facebook page and following it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and active right now during the broadcast in the chat. So again, YouTube is great for that because if you are interactive, asking questions, giving feedback, everything like that, you can get yourself entered for that kit giveaway. Now, all of our partner broadcasts come with exciting updates, new adventures we're rolling out for you guys, new tools, things like that. Today is, of course, no exception. Today is all about kickstarting that lifelong passive income, making sure you're setting yourself up for that 6-figure income stream. It's all about a worry-free future. And to get us started with that, I would like to welcome in to the broadcast today, Ryan and Kendra Maddock.
Hello. Thanks, Heather. Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. I got to tell you, this has been a fun season. We kicked off back in early August talking about what tax season was going to, how it was going to take shape. And last month, Kendra, we got to share some of the deals that are going to production. Later in the call, we'll share some of the commissions that are already starting to yield out of that.
Which is exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. What I do like is, number one, you guys are going to work. And number two, it's deals are moving a lot quicker, I feel like, than they normally do. Like clients are more eager.
I think it has to do with a couple of things: how active you all are as advisors and partners. You're out there getting it done and moving things along, how quickly our internal team. But I think it also has to do with some timing factors, Ryan, about where we are right now in kind of the scheme of things and the time frame of tax season and how quickly we are moving towards the end of the year, as well as this upcoming election. It all kind of makes for this really important timing. And that timing has a lot to do with the R&D tax credit as well. There's a big thing that's about to happen without giving too much away about what we're going to talk about. But upcoming, if certain things don't take place for certain advisor or certain clients, clients have the potential of losing a significant amount of their benefit.
I'm going to say what that number is. 25% of the client's benefit is about to go away for a lot of clients.
So that leads us to ask the immediate question as we kick off our broadcast today on why is right now in this exact moment so important for us to be considering this?
Yeah. I want to take a minute and kind of explain the mechanics a little bit of the R&D tax credit, just so you have some understanding of how it's calculated. I'll cover that first. Second, why clients are about to lose some of that tax credit, and then ultimately how this is affecting things in terms of, like, bottom line is it's making it easier for people to be able to get in front of new clients and things like that. We hear in stories every single week in our R&D SWAT group, which, by the way, tomorrow is our final session of R&D SWAT. You need to be on it. Jason and I have something really special for that day. But I want you to understand how the credit is calculated. So first of all, the R&D credit, I know the text is probably a little bit small there, but it's the current year plus 3 previous years. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. Kendra, pop quiz, but you can't answer it with your tax knowledge. You have to answer it with, what a common person of average intelligence would say. Not the IRS answer, but Kendra, let's see. Actually,
put my normal person hat on.
I want to let's go to chat for a moment. I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to weigh in. I just want to see who gets this right. So don't answer, Kendra. Okay. So I'm in chat right now. By the way, hello, Aldo. We got some good folks.
Bev's got a great question. We're going to pull your question in later, Bev.
All right. So question. You guys ready for this? Pop quiz. What year is the current year? Go ahead.
Go ahead and type it in chat.
Ali, I see that East Coast, praying for fellow Floridians. Absolutely. Oh man, you guys have been
Ooh.
around for a while. Okay, let's throw some of these right answers up here.
I don't see one wrong one yet, Ryan.
Oh, everybody gets it. I think I've made this joke too many years.
Oh, there's a couple that are a little off. Not too far, but a little off.
Pete.
We're going to use you, but
we're going to use you, buddy. Because you
don't get
said
upset.
that it's 2024. It's not 2024. Kendra, please explain why it's not 2024.
It's 2023 because when we're talking about current year,
according to the IRS,
Yeah.
I didn't clarify that.
for most of our clients, the 2023 tax year is still open.
Yeah.
And so that means that that is their current year when we're talking about anything tax related. We're talking about federal taxes, filing your taxes, which is what we're pretty much talking about today. So in that instance, when we're saying current year, if our client has not yet filed 2023, which most of ours have not, it is 2023. Now, if they filed 2023, their current year is going to be 2024, but we're not ready for that yet. So
Yeah.
in this instance, it is 2023. Great answers. Thanks everybody for playing.
Thanks. That was fun. So a lot of people, and by the way, if you said it was 2024, you're also correct. It's
Yeah,
just
you're
not,
right too.
not
in a
according to the
minute.
IRS. So, okay, so let me break down how the credit is calculated. So, and Heather, some of our like for me, the graphic is kind of small. So I'll let you make us small, make the graphic big if you would. There you go. So for 2023, this is current year for a lot of companies. And Kendra, it's more companies than ever before because people can't afford to pay their taxes.
Right.
So we'll expect to see current 2023 be current year for a little while now. For some companies, this could be a few weeks. It could be a few more months. It depends on the company.
Some places in Florida got extended to February because of Helene. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
going to be a while.
It's going to be a while. So before some of them close out 2023. Now, let's just say that you go in and you get a client $43,000 for current year. Okay, that's the net benefit. This is the physical check that they get from the IRS. The way this works when we say current year and 3 previous is for 2023, 43,000. And let's say that for the last few years, they had the same number of employees, about the same type of work they did, that kind of thing. So to make math easy, what that means is for 2020, 2021, and 2022, Kendra, we'd also get around $43,000.
I like it.
For
We're keeping
this
the
company.
math simple
Yeah,
for me.
exactly.
Which when you're looking at that, that means that their overall benefit is going to be $172,000, which when you're thinking about our average client, $172,000 really makes a huge impact to their bottom line, their cash flow and everything. So that's not a small benefit, guys.
Yeah. Now, also, in addition to that, Kendra, we're about to 2024 is upon us. You might say, I thought 2025 is upon. No, to the IRS, 2024 is upon us. So, within the next few months, we can start looking at the 2024 credits for people, making that benefit even larger.
Right. That's going to bump it up another $43,000, which would set us at $215,000.
Yeah.
So again, huge benefit for most of our client base.
Now, let me show you where some clients are, in fact, a lot of clients are about to lose 25% of those back years that we were talking about. So here's what's going to happen.
I want to tie this in.
Yeah.
This goes back to the topic we started. Why is right now so very important when we're talking about this credit with clients?
Yeah, well, especially when you can talk to a client and say you're about to lose a quarter of your benefit.
Exactly.
Think about that. So you're reaching out to someone and you're saying, hey, I'd like to set up a meeting. And they say, call me in a few weeks. Well, actually, I see that we've got about a $200,000 benefit. So that means that $50,000 of that is about to go away. Are you sure you don't want to meet this week instead? Hope you caught that. So now I want to show you why 25% is about to go away. Once 2023 is closed out for a business, which happens at a different rate for every individual company. Now, all of a sudden, 2024 becomes current year. And remember, we can only go back 3 open years. And so, Kendra, they're going to lose of this back study that we were going to be able to do 20, 21, 22, and 23. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to lose a quarter of that in this process.
43, and this client that we're using as an example, that's $43,000 that you're telling them, well, if you don't act within this short time period, we're actually going to lose 2020, which is about $43,000 for you. When you tell somebody like that, it gives that the actionable steps, it makes it valuable. It makes it tangible. It puts a dollar amount on not acting,
Yeah.
which makes the interaction and the conversation completely different.
Well, and again, I know you just kind of touched on this, but when you're reaching out to someone, you can say plain when they try to put you off, like reach out to me after the first year. Well, actually, due to some changes in the manufacturing payroll credits, waiting that long could cost you upwards of $50,000 or $60,000 off of the credit.
It
Are you sure
changes
you
their
wanna wait?
mindset. When you
Yeah.
talk about losing $50,000, $60,000, $40,000 just because you want to wait a couple weeks, shifts the mindset just a little bit.
Absolutely. So now, Kendra, we've got some folks, and I teased this at the intro.
I love
That
this. They're
went
all
out there.
saying sense of urgency, time to act. So you guys are getting it.
Absolutely. So we've seen that, I kind of teased a little bit that some people went out there, and these are some deals from a couple months ago. We talked about deals kicking off into production, but Kendra, now I want to talk about commissions because everything we're about to talk about, these are paid out commissions, except for the tire shop. Sorry, that one's underway right now that we're going to talk about here. But let's talk about, so some people went out there, they've already underway with this. They're already seeing that sense of urgency. And let's talk about a couple of these. Congratulations to a few folks.
I love this because this is true what's happening in your guys' world. So this illustration, I call these like client snapshots, if you will. This is a machine shop in West Virginia. Bill, amazing job. They signed up for the tax management system, knowing obviously that we were going for the R&D tax credit. So there was no surprise there. But within 90 days, I believe, or they had their docs uploaded within a week, which is great. Like that's what we want to see because that means that the production and engineering department can quickly get things underway and moving. So with 90 days or 3 months,
clients already had their check back.
Yep. The client had already been able to recapture. And best of all, this is what you guys want to hear. As the partner, they had this check for $17,500 in their back pocket because we moved so quickly. Things went like this was like perfect. Like I could just look at it. And the great thing about this client is they're going to be annual. They're already set up for review come January as 2024 closes. And we're going to be looking to see when they're going to do their 2024 study, if it's going to be in April or October of next year. So they're already ready for annual.
Yeah.
So when we talk about lifetime residual, this is a classic example of a client that now is going to be working with us perpetually. And the benefit is just going to keep flowing in. And that commission check every year is going to keep coming to Bill. So congratulations, Bill. Great job.
So another one I want to show, and I like this. So this one, Ken in Texas. And here's what I like about this. So this is recycling. Now, ironically, where this one came out of is we shared, I think it was either in July or August, we showed one of the R&D snapshots. We showed just like this. This is part of why we do this. Is we showed a recycling factory in Texas. So Ken went out there and signed his client up for TMS. Almost identical story. Client uploaded their payroll documents, or their tax returns, went into the system. And so far, even though this one's pretty new, so Ken's already $8,500 in commission. Now I want to explain so far because again, people might be thinking, oh, they're getting more next year. No, they could get more much sooner than that. The way this tends to work is that when we file these, it just depends on what's going on, what order we file these in. A lot of times it might be that, 2022 or whatever's most recent, because that's the documents they have on hand. We'll get those in like maybe, let's say, in the first week and a half or whatever the case is.
They're still sitting on people's computers.
Yeah.
Like they're easy to get. But when you're talking about back years, sometimes it takes a few minutes to get those from your CPA or whatever, or dig them back up from wherever they may be. So
we don't wait to file these. We get these going. So what happens is, so all of a sudden we might fire away 2022s, get that going, and then a few weeks later 2021. So we don't wait and like bulk do those unless all the documents come in a succession and there's nothing holding it up. And so what tends to happen when I say $8,500 so far is as the clients receive checks, of course we're invoicing them. So this one, Ken, $8,500 so far, but there's multiple tax years that are still out there for billing. Yeah. So good job on that. So just two more we want to rattle through, and then we want to kind of talk about how to go get in front of more clients during this time.
This one is one of my favorite stories. So we had a tire company, John in Texas. Great job. This is last week. So this is fresh.
Wow, Texas is represented.
Yeah.
Did you do that on purpose?
No, I actually pulled two out of the story bin because they were all in Texas. I don't know what's going on in Texas, but y'all are doing great. So John got his client in, signed up for the tax management system. And you guys know that we do this onboarding call, our internal staff does with the new clients that use TMS, show them how to use it and everything. And we go through questions, same questions that you guys are going through as you're using the calculator, just to make sure everything's entered correctly and we're getting the best qualification and getting any credits we may not have captured initially. And that's exactly what happens. So our internal staff member asked them about property and found out that they actually owned their property and they were a great, I cannot talk today, great qualifier for cost segregation. She not only found that out, she didn't say, okay, I'm going to get you in touch with your partner or your advisor and you guys can figure that out. No, she had them pull up their calculator while on the call and she physically walked them through activating their cost segregation during that call. Perfect. And then she let the advisor know, hey, by the way, you got a cost segregation. So great deal, great internal staff. I was so happy to see that because that's the way it's supposed to work. If we're not able or we miss something initially, the system or the staff are going to catch it on the way through, and then that system will continue to catch it. This cost seg is currently underway. So great. Great job, John. Great job, staff.
Yeah. Two questions I want to touch on just briefly. So Bev said, if I wanted to give a sense of urgency for R&D, what would I say they need to engage or start working with us on?
Great question.
So Bev, I know you're asking for like a date, but what I would do is I would actually turn that just a little bit and say, well, I know a lot of tax preparers right now are working on, getting things submitted for the fall. And it's really important that we get in there sooner rather than later. If we could get in sometime in the next week or so, I only need about 20 minutes. And so, I would set it much sooner. Now, that doesn't mean stop working after a week. That just means, I would set the tone there. The other question I saw, and Heather, if you could message Jack, because even though I read this, I actually, you might know.
Yeah, I do know. They do commercial recycling. Like, so when you tear a building down and all the materials that come out of that building would be recycled, they have these huge commercial recycling yards where people bring in product. So it's just a large commercial recycling center.
Yeah. So our triplet said, don't limit it. Curious what you mean by that. So pipe in. I would love to kind of share. So
great question from Terry.
Yeah.
Great question. Terry, you're going to use any means necessary to talk to them. Whatever works for the person that you're reaching out to, the company, whatever works for them, do it. You can use the phone. You can use text. You can use in person. You can use Zoom. Whatever works. It doesn't have to be in person. Whatever works for the situation.
Yeah. And thanks for terrifying there. Our triplet. So good ones. I'm going to keep rolling there. I think we had one more. Oh, I like this one. Not this one, the one that, so the software company,
like the cost seg
I didn't like the cost seg one. I didn't like the tire company. John, I don't like you apparently.
No. Good job, John.
No, but what I do like about this one, so the client actually misclassified their industry, or I don't like it's industry's opinionated, but they didn't mark software. In fact, they didn't mark anything when they were going through the calculator that would trigger the R&D tax credit. But what happened is once they got in there and we're going through the setup wizard and they're starting to use the TMS. And so at the time, to be ironic, we thought we were only going to do WOTC for this client, which is still great. But as they got in and started going through the setup wizard triggered the R&D product, which I think was really cool. And the commission so far on this one, $11,500. That's Kat in Georgia. We did have another software example in Texas.
That's the one in Texas I had to pull it.
We literally
I felt like
booted
you guys weren't going to believe us.
We just thought that you're going to think there's only business in Texas.
A little too much love for Texas.
Today. I don't know what's going on in Texas. You guys are bringing it. So, and it's not one advisor. They were all different advisors. Different. So Kat in Georgia, really good job on this. So client, like I said, they didn't even identify as a software company.
I think that the problem is that our clients are really uneducated about what their industry means or what's available to them. And that's why TMS is so important, because we're able to ask the right questions at the right point in the process to make sure that we're getting them every benefit possible.
Absolutely. So that is, when you're looking at this, to kind of Bev's question earlier, and some of you that weighed in, use this as an opportunity to get in front of people. So use this as a sense of urgency. Now, I love something that Triplet was mentioning is about being agnostic. And that's something I always talk about, that I don't like to personally, even though this is about the R&D tax credit, I don't really like to lead in always with that in my verbiage. And you're going to see that later when we're showing scripts, because to his point, and you've heard me say it before as well, if you get boxed in, and Kendra, for a second, I want you to be someone who's already taken the R&D tax credit. Okay. Hey, Kendra, I really wanted to get over there and meet with you because there's some changes to the R&D tax credit. And if
that's okay. Don't worry about it. My CPA does the R&D tax credit for us every year.
Oh, okay. So I'm in this uphill battle where I have to decide, am I going to be the person on the corner in the New York that says, oh, you don't want to watch? Well, I got a bracelet too. And you don't want to be that person. Or I have to now fight the uphill battle of, oh, well, we could do it better than your CPA. And I don't want to do that to T Riplet's point. I'm sorry, R
It's
Triplet.
Ron.
I'm
It's
sorry.
Ron. Yeah.
Ron, I don't want to do that to your point. And this is where I like to stay generic, especially in those initial dialogues. And so if I try that again a little bit. So, hey, Kendra, there's some manufacturing programs. Some of them are at a federal level. Some are specific to Michigan. And, but the important part is there's some major portions of the credit that go away depending on your tax situation, upwards of a quarter of the money you could get.
Oh yeah, because tax filing time, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do, I need about 15 minutes of your time. Can we get together on Thursday?
Sure, let's take a look.
Yeah. Or can you open this up on your computer right now? So Ron, to your point, don't get boxed in by just saying, even though this is an R&D training, you don't want to, Rod, I'm sorry.
Actually, I said Rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Rod.
Absolutely. So
I know your name. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I like this. So Archie wants to know, what is WOTC, R&D, et cetera? What do you mean? See, this is exactly what I'm saying, is that if sometimes we don't know as advisors, because there's so many acronyms to catch up on, then how can you expect the clients to do? So let me first answer your question, and I'll talk about how I would talk about these. WOTC is, I love that phonetically. That's exactly how I say is WOTC.
WOTC.
It's actually WOTC, but no one says that. It's WOTC, the worker is it workers?
Workers with an S.
With an S.
Opportunity tax credit.
So WOTC is a tax credit for anyone that hires.
From specific groups. Yeah. It allows them to recapture different levels of a benefit based on hiring and how many hours they work. A lot of companies are familiar with it. It's been notoriously difficult to do. The tax management system actually allows them to do it very easily. So that's one thing that really attracts a lot of businesses in, because they're familiar with it. Yeah. They know that it's hard to do, but they know how much money they could be getting. So the system helps.
We tend to find that a company using our system, about 20 to 25% of the hires they bring in, we can get a tax incentive or a tax credit for. So that's WOTC, but there's a bunch of local programs under that as well. R&D stands for research and development. It's also known as the Section 41 tax credit. And then we mentioned cost segregation. But let me say how I often like to represent these, and that is that there are hundreds of local, state, and federal tax incentives. We've developed software that helps look to see which programs you qualify for, because then you don't get nailed into, we did WOTC 5 years ago and it was a lot of paperwork for nothing. Mm-hmm. So, but use this, Kendra, is a way to get in front of people.
Right.
Now, this has a huge impact. I just want to fly through this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But last month we talked about there's about 20 billion set aside just for manufacture, or just for the R&D tax credit. And clients don't know how to take it. So that leaves you as kind of the broker, so to speak. And there's about 7 billion available in fees, that are available to our advisor base. Mm-hmm.
And that's not counting, Ryan. We touched on this the last couple of months. All the expanded federal or state R&D tax credits has added a significant income or in.
Yeah, I don't remember, like Michigan's just for the year was either 100 or 200 million.
Yeah.
Just for Michigan.
I'm not able to calculate it because they're all different, but they're all significant. So we've added that as kind of a trigger for you all to realize that it's not just a federal level. Most states have one as well.
Now, in the weeks and months to come, as clients close out 2023, this is what happens, is that you are losing about a quarter of your paycheck. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong, 7 billion is a great amount of fees for us to be looking at, but at the same time, we don't want to lose a quarter of that. So one, you can use it as a sense of urgency to book the appointment in the first place. And two, you're going to make more money today than you'll make, let's say, weeks or months from now, depending on the client situation.
Right.
So
Now that you've all seen and gotten excited about the potential client ability or calculation and that long-term residual income by looking at those 4 examples and knowing the time frame and seeing the breakdown of the R&D tax credit, I think it's time for us now to kind of take a look and apply that, understand what that means for us right now, know what our goal is. And there is one goal, and I see some questions that actually tie into this. You guys ask us a lot, like, what's my next step? What should I be doing? What am I supposed to tell people? What link should I be using? I think I just saw one. What is the best piece of info or link we should blah, blah, blah. Well, obviously, to me,
Yeah.
our main goal is to get people to calculate. And if we can't get people to calculate, we're not going to get clients. So that is always the main goal. That is always the next step. That is what's going to get you those clients. But there's some steps that lead up to that we need to talk about.
Yeah. So as they're doing that, I would love if every deal could start here. But that's not the case. But what you did hear in common as we were going through, the stories in August, the case studies in August that we went through, the stories that we went through in the beginning of September and now the beginning of October, what you heard in common is that they all ended at the calculator.
Yep.
And so, but as far as Kendra, let's talk about where they all start. And that's identifying a good person to
Right.
talk to.
And we talk about this a lot. We give you lists of industries. We talk about the best types of clients, but I'm going to run through it really quickly. And we're going to apply that as we're talking through. We're talking about manufacturers. We're talking about fabrication, engineering, design, construction, agriculture, software, wineries, architecture, bio, pharma, tire companies, recycling companies. Like you need to be wrapping your mind around the full scope of this type of work and not limiting yourself. And by doing that, we're able to move into that first phase.
Yeah. So once you have those clients, then the next step to do. Yeah. Once you've identified them. Yeah. Once you have them identified, your next step is obviously you need to communicate with them. And Kendra, I think this is somewhere where people look and say, okay, but I don't understand what to communicate.
I'm going to own this section for a minute because being that I head our marketing division, I get a lot of feedback from you guys. And it's really important that we understand this process and this funnel or this flow to, from identifying to becoming a client. And this first section, this communication section, it's actually happens in stages or sections. And the first of it being, I guess phases. Phases is the right word for this. The first phase is awareness. And I know for a fact that you all love being involved in that stage. Can you click one for me?
Yeah, sorry about that.
So the awareness phase is where you're getting out those initial emails and you're posting those social posts. And I know you guys love this because you tell us all the time, oh, I sent all those emails and I posted on social and I posted on LinkedIn and I'm just sitting here waiting. Or I get the frustration of I sent the email to 15 people and I posted 20 times and I got nothing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason for that. Awareness phase, and that's where you're sending the initial emails and you're posting either on LinkedIn or social, whatever. That's phase 1. That's not the entire process. So it is important, it is necessary, and you can get a client out of that phase. They can go directly to the calculator and become a client, but not necessarily. Usually you take multiple attempts. So we move into phase 2 of that communication phase.
Well, and you've never heard us reference it this way before. This has been one of the great things I've really enjoyed with SWAT is I think it was either last week or the week before, I was having some dialogue with Bev just via the chat. And, she was talking about some of what she sent and things like that. And that really, challenged us to come back and say, okay, I want to properly label these things. And so we've just always called it communicate or initial communication or whatever the case is. And I really think when I look at our overall market strategy, that really the right word for this was awareness because the initial, so what we did was we actually broke our emails down into 2 different categories. I'll talk about the second category in a minute, but Kendra, the first one was awareness because that's exactly what some of them were done. So I want to thank Bev she was kind of going through a lot of our toolbox and she's doing a great job.
We have an advisor right now. This has been posted for months, not getting responses. So there's some steps after that.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is we get really excited because social posts are fun and they're cool and they're glitzy and they're, beautiful pictures and they make us feel important, which it should do all of those things. But there's steps after that we have to put into play.
Well, and sometimes in a training, we can't go into, let's take SWAT, for example. In week 1, we're like, make your list. And in week 2, not that this is our itinerary, I'm just using an example. We're like, send these emails. We can't get too far in training. So yeah, a few months ago, we were, definitely saying send, because we've got to get to that point. But now so many of you are to that point. We have to talk about these next phases. So this one right here, this is important. And this is where that direct communication happens. So Kendra, talk about that a little bit. The difference between awareness and now this direct communication.
This is the phase that 90% of us hate. And I'm going to include myself in this phase. It's because this direct line of communication, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be either directly communicating via phone or directly communicating via text or out there in person or on a Zoom call. You are putting yourself out there. And that's hard to do. It's easier to stay kind of hidden behind a social post or hidden behind an email. That's safe. But when we're putting ourselves out there, it's hard. What if I get a question about this? What if I don't know how to do this? What if? That all comes to mind. So this phase is harder, but completely necessary. And honestly, within the toolbox and within the support department, we give you everything you need to be successful in this stage. So don't worry about all the what if. We cover it all for you. We give you everything you need. This is that phase where you really have to get in there and get it done, because this is what's going to move those interested, those likes on your socials, those somebody shared it. Okay, I'm going to DM them. That's direct communication. Somebody, asked me a question on this social post. I'm going to reach back out. That's direct communication. Somebody responded back to my email, or they even opened your email. They opened it. So now it's time to start getting in there. And that could be any number of different things. It could be going out in person. Works amazingly. And yes, somebody said door knocking. Get out there. Even when it's somebody you don't know, get out there. It could be via text, because a lot of people, that is direct form of communication for them now. It could be on the phone. It could be a Zoom meeting. I prefer Zoom meetings now. I don't like going out in person, but that is one-on-one. It is direct communication. Whatever works for them, whatever form of direct communication works for who you're trying to reach, use that. And then just work that over and over and over again.
Absolutely. So as you're going through this, yeah, go ahead.
With one goal in mind.
Oh, the calculator.
Yeah. Because I know you guys are asking in your head. So, okay, I go out and I call it, like, what am I saying? What am I doing? What is my end goal? Calculator.
Yeah.
It's not to share an article. It's not to have them see your fancy website. All of these tools, calculator.
Well, I want to flip over for just a moment. I'm going to refresh and see if it's available. Okay. So Heather, flip to my laptop for just a minute. I'll show the resource on this in a second, because one of the things that I think often people want to know is, I do see questions on this. I've shared this for the last few months, and that is, what do I do during a meeting? And we've actually broken this down, and we've had so many requests for this. I actually had Heather break just the session out so you don't have to watch the whole broadcast. But what we did was we did several live role plays. We're walking through the calculator of exactly what to do and what to say, how to overcome objections, all of that. So if you're looking, you can go back to slides, Heather. If you're looking at, really what happens during that meeting, I'll show you that resource here in just a little bit. But I think the important thing, Kendra, is that they've got to get out there, everyone, and have some direct communication.
Right.
So this is the way I want you to think about it is, and you're going to see in a little bit, we've broken our email templates down to 2 different areas. One of them is awareness, which does exactly that. Now, sometimes we share the stories because they are the fun, easy ones where someone sends an email, does a social post, and it just goes straight to calculate and straight to sign up. It does happen. It happens pretty regularly. But it also, there's a lot of cases where that's not what happens. You fire an email and, for whatever reason, that's as far as it goes. And that's what we're talking about now, is you've got to get out there face to face, Zoom to Zoom, whatever the case is, via text, and, close the deal that way. We're going to be showing you some resources for that in a little bit. Now, Kendra, that alone will leap some deals past this gap into running a calculator and becoming a client. Okay.
Absolutely.
But then some won't. And so let's talk about that for a minute. You hear these different marketing catchphrases out there like nurturing, follow up, is probably the key word for years and years and years. But first you're raising awareness, then you're going out there and you're direct communicating. Now what we really need to do is we need to cultivate this client into becoming a client if they don't, kind of bridge that gap on their own.
Right. So I chose this word on purpose. Like Ryan said, it can be follow-up. It can be anything. Like this part of the sales process is always called something, but I like the word cultivate because it reminds me of a garden or something like that. You go out, you put a seed in the ground, you walk away and come back 2 weeks later and, I have this beautiful plant and I'm so happy. No, we all know that doesn't happen. I can't grow anything to save my life, even when I do try. But cultivating it, being out there, you make sure your soil is pH balanced, you make sure you're feeding it, you're watering it, you're picking the weeds and you're killing the bugs. And then in a couple of weeks, you do have something amazing. And it's the same thing when we're talking about a process like this. You have to cultivate it. I saw a couple people like Rod mentioned that you let them talk. Yeah. Sometimes you let them talk and you're not able to actually get to the point, but you got to revisit it. You can come back around and use the information they gave you during the other conversation to continue to cultivate this potential client. It does take work. There isn't a secret to get to A to B without any work. The work is there, but if you do it and it becomes a process for you, it's much easier. So cultivating it, getting it to the point where you built a relationship, and you have to do this in a manner that draws them to you and doesn't push them away. So it is a very balanced process that you really have to figure it out. And we try to give you all the tools.
Bev kills her plants also.
No, see, Bev, I have good friends, but I cannot grow a plant. I have one plant alive and there's a story to that, but I literally cannot do it.
All right, let's take a few minutes for questions before we go on to the next section. First one is Truth. Is Truth your name? Truth Prevails. Truth Prevails is not your name.
I think it's an acronym.
So I like it. So what is TMS? TMS is another acronym. So
sorry, guys. I'm just so used to it. The tax management system, which is where we bring in most of our clients at that level. It's a monthly recurring SaaS type system where we are quickly and ongoingly looking at every type of tax credit we can possibly get for them. And it starts with WOTC because that's how they get in. They start using the tax management system and then they enter information about their businesses and about their locations and their facilities. And we're able to quickly say, oh, you qualify for cost segregation. Oh, because of what your clients do, you qualify for the R&D tax credit. Or you're in a disaster area because of that zip code. We can try this for you. So there's lots of all different kinds of tax incentives and credits that we're able to get for our clients when they start using the tax management system or TMS.
Bev says the toolbox has many assets to use with specific tax incentives, so it's not agnostic. Bev, you're spot on. There's tools that we have that even in what I'm going to show you here in a few minutes, there's ones that are more generic and there's ones that say for employers. So that's a little more specific. And there's times that we mention the specific program. Kendra, talk for a minute, not to put you on the spot, but in marketing, it just takes such a broad approach because you don't know what's going
to capture someone's interests. And that's why I think it was Rod who said earlier,
I'm going to go get more. I'm already out of water. So have fun with
it.
Have some with the broadcast. Have fun with
when Rod said to let the potential client talk, you can do that a number of different ways. You have to determine or try to figure out what is going to be that best avenue to get that client's interest and to draw them in. Sometimes it's a broad approach. Sometimes they don't care about anything but one specific thing. And so in order to make sure that you're successful, we give you every tool you need. And you do have to kind of narrow it down, use this little bit of a meter on what's going to draw that person in. If all the person wants to talk about is the work opportunity tax credit, then let's push them directly towards the TMS immediately. If all they want to talk about is their property, then we have lots of things for cost segregation to draw their attention in. The one thing you want to keep in mind is it doesn't matter which tool we start with. We always push to the same goal, which is the calculator. So it doesn't matter how broad or how narrowed our approach is. It's one direction only, always towards the calculator.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. What did I miss?
Nothing.
It's apparently dry in here today. So
I know I almost coughed earlier and I was like, oh no, this is not going
Sam said, can we get more blog posts? Our current ones are ERC focused.
Maybe.
So maybe what we tend to do with our marketing resources that we have is we put them where we see the most results out of. The last year, I feel like we've gotten a lot more results out of
The problem,
email.
yeah.
And so that's where we've been putting them.
The problem with blog posts is they tend to become outdated really quickly, and it does take a lot of time and effort. And if you're I don't want to say it. Okay. So if you're in the marketing world, you know that blog posts don't get read anymore. They make us look fancy.
Well, but I think they're great when sent as an email
or an attachment,
shared in a social.
But to kind of rely on it is it's one of the things that is much lower on the scale. That's why
it's just lower on our priority list because we're getting more. You notice, like, I'll say the same thing. Like, we're still producing a good amount of socials, but our email to social ratio has shifted a lot. And that's just because lately we've gotten more out of that. Now, when ERC was absolute heyday, we were getting more out of social. Right. In fact, 14% of our TMS signups were coming from Facebook, just social ads. So that was the best way to reach. So I'll take one more and then we'll kind of keep going here. And the last one I want to talk about, we'll take more questions, but for this segment is what size businesses make the credit worthwhile for the business itself? How many employees minimum, things like that. You want to take a first stab and then I'll give my opinion because
business makes this credits worthwhile for the business itself. Any business that qualifies. And I don't mean to be vague. So nowadays, if I can get, as a business owner, when you have a business owner mentality, if I could get 20 grand and not have to really work for it, then 20 grand is worth my effort. If I can get 100 and not work for it, then that's worth my effort. It's all about what works for the client. If there's a benefit there, the calculator will tell you. So don't call in and say, will this client qualify? Just run them through the calculator and find out. The calculator will tell you what the benefit dollar is. Follow that summary at the bottom. It's not just there to look pretty. That's an accurate number. And if for some reason $20,000 isn't substantial enough for a business, I can't say that for them. But I feel like in this day and age, any money that I don't really have to work for, I don't have to push my staff further for, is worth the benefit. As far as like exact size, I don't know if you want to.
I'll pipe in on this a little bit. So the calculator is going to identify based on industry, the state they're in, what counties they operate in, a lot of different factors, how much a client's going to qualify for. So here's the way I would personally say it is if you already know someone, let me put it another way. If you know someone that's a 5-employee company, and then there's a cold company that has 200 employees, you're better off with the 5-employee company because warm always beats cold, no matter what. So that's the first consideration. But if all things were equal, if you knew someone with a 5-employee and you knew someone with a 50 or 100 or 200 employee company, of course you're going to get them more money. So that, that's better. The more employees someone has or the bigger a building is, whatever the case is, you're going to be able to get them more money. More money means higher fee means higher commission. There is a point of, this is my new favorite term lately, a point of diminishing returns though.
Yeah. And Ed's comment kind of plays into this.
Is it in start or is it?
It's not, it's right. It's like the third one
Go
up.
ahead.
He says, keep in mind, and this is going to tie in with what Ryan has to say, that generally the larger the organization, the more decision makers will want to get involved. Not need to, but want to. So good point, Ed.
Good job, Ed.
I find that I want Ryan to say what he's going to say next. It ties directly into that. Point of diminishing return.
So if I were looking at that, again, warm always outbeats cold, but let's say that all things are equal. So let's say that you're in, everything you're going for is lukewarm or everything you're going for is warm or whatever the case is. Then when I was looking at, new companies or several companies, I can give you a sweet spot. And we've been talking a lot about manufacturers. So let's talk about that. So I would say between, 50 and 300 employees is a really good sweet spot. And here's why. Everything less than 50 employees is, it's going to be a lower credit. But here's the upside. it's going to take you like 3 minutes to close the deal. Because, with companies like that, you go in, they sign right away. Their documents are really easy to collect. It's going to be a lower paycheck for you, but you also, Kendra, didn't have a whole lot into it time wise. So that's really good. But then so let's say that you had like 1.5 hours into it total. So, and you get X dollars. And then next year, you're also going to get follow up money and follow up money and follow up money. Those smaller companies they're more likely to go out of business. They're more likely to shrink right now
Right.
than they are to grow, like all of those things. And then you have that sweet spot I was talking about, 50 to 2, 3, maybe even 400 employees.
Mm-hmm.
And with those, they're also going to close very quickly, but they're going to yield like a pretty good commission for you. A company like that, even on the smaller end, this is, $15,000 to $35,000 in your upfront commission on top of, everything else that comes out of it and annual residuals
I have a
and things
favorite
like
here
that.
in Michigan, but
Yeah.
I don't want this to limit anyone. So in the state of Michigan, manufacturing is ridiculously
Yeah.
huge. You can throw a stone from our building here and hit 6 manufacturing companies. I'm not kidding. The auto industry, supportive manufacturing is just ridiculous. And then we have food and everything. So knowing that, you kind of look at your area, and our area used to tend to have a lot of family, generationally owned manufacturers. Those were amazing because you get in, you get a conversation with one or two individuals, and you can move all the way through.
Yeah.
And once you have that relationship with one of the head family people, whatever, it just generation, like even if the son takes over, they're just staying with you because you've got this relationship with them. I loved those. Those used to close left and right up here. In the last 8 or 9 years, some of them have, through COVID closed and things like that. But every area is going to have their own niche. And you kind of have to do that a little bit of, digging to find out what is your niche in your area.
Now, Tom, once you get over a certain size, we can do the work, but here's what happens. And back to Ed's comment, there just gets to a certain point where it takes longer to get through the bid process. You're up against usually a Big 10 or a Big 4 accounting firm that they're already working with. And so for me, I share an example, and I've shared this a few times, but we had an advisor that really wanted us to go bid the cost seg for Boston Gardens. This was years ago. And we ended up losing the bid, and we lost the bid for this certain dollar amount, which was already like really low. Like we weren't going to make money on it. It was just so we could say we did the cost seg for Boston Gardens. And that same week that we lost the bid, which by the way, took us like months and months and months of bidding process, Kendra, we closed this little Holiday Inn in this rural area, and the advisor made a higher commission than the other advisor would have made in Boston Gardens. And so it just goes down to, I'll give one more. Like I made a pretty good commission one time. I was training a new rep, and we stopped at the gas station, and I said, well, let me show you how to do it. And we walked inside with the app, and I could tell the owner was the owner, and I closed the gas station right then. And I'm not saying that to show off. I'm saying, Tom, it's all about, so with the gas station, I didn't make a ton of money, but I like literally had a couple minutes into it, and then I moved on.
It's funny, Ryan. I think it was Ron, sorry, who earlier said something about, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. One of you said, like after you have dinner at a restaurant, if there's a local owner, like we do anyway, we chat up the owner chef, it's fun.
Yeah.
And then you just start talking to them about what you do, and it's very natural. And so when you're pulling that in to your everyday conversations, when you're stopping here or there, people are really comfortable with someone who has a comfortable vibe and can just kind of start talking about stuff like that. And they'll talk back to you. And that's where those clients just kind of happen naturally, is when you feel comfortable with it and you pull it into your everyday conversations.
Yep. So John wants to know exactly what is the calculator. How do we get the client to it? Kendra, I think that is, kind of helps transition us.
That really does.
Into, thanks, John, by the way. So, we've mentioned that the calculator is what you want to do, but I think some people kind of want to know, and it's a lot of the questions here is, what do I say? What do I send? What do I do?
Sometimes there's even the question of what is my calculator? Where
Yeah.
is my calculator? How do I get to my calculator?
Now, what we haven't talked about is what about once you get into the calculator, if they don't go into production?
What
'Cause that-
happens? What
that
do I
does
do?
happen.
Do I
So,
know? Where do I look?
Listen, if you don't have clients to the calculator yet, I don't want you to worry about that. But if you do, we'll talk about that here in a second. So Kendra, as it is so often, you've developed some tool sets. And I really like the way that this one's laid out.
This one came together really
well.
well. It's an action plan with, I think, almost every tool you need for the next couple of months in one place. The toolbox has a navigation tool across the top where you can get to everything that you need. This is a blueprint. We're using that same page that we've used in the past called the Blueprint for Success. And this one we're titling The Key to Your Six-Figure Income Starts Today. And when you go to the homepage, that's the banner at the top. Click on it. That's going to take you to the page. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you one more time. This page was developed for your success over the next 30, 60, 90 days. There's a banner on the Toolbox homepage. Click on it. It'll take you there.
In fact, Heather, you can switch over.
I feel like everything you need is here, and I've changed things up. Our team has changed things up a little bit. The navigation bar that usually sits across the top.
Oh, I might need to refresh.
Yeah, I literally, guys, right before broadcast, I changed this. So you can go back to the Toolbox homepage and find everything you need. But those other navigations are going to move you through this page. So as you become more comfortable with it, you can easily get to each stage. And I don't want to kind of jump ahead, but we've never done that before. Sometimes a blueprint page can feel a little overwhelming for some people.
Yeah.
So we've got a navigation across the top to make it simpler, to make it quicker and easier to use.
So we're going to run through this. There are some other questions that I skipped for now because I felt they really, we were going to answer them in this section. But also keep entering questions. We'll take some time at the end as long as we have it to go through things. But so Kendra, what we've got here is there's 3 categories here. We've talked about identifying, communicate, and you said cultivate, but really I love this word too, is convert as they go into this process. So let's talk about this first step. So make your list of 25, and let's talk about why 25, Kendra. Why not 1,000? Why not 2,000? I mean, why 25?
Because a narrowed, direct approach really tends to result in better outcome. And so if you're just spraying the whole world with fire hose and hoping something gets somewhere and cultivates and grows, it usually doesn't. But if you have, a direct, steady stream, it's really going to allow you to focus your efforts in one area. And if you were able to close even half of 25 clients with the R&D tax credit, your lifetime residual is enough. You can retire. Don't worry.
Well, and there's another thing too. And I talk about this. All 25 of those have CPAs, and those CPAs have hundreds of manufacturing clients, usually each. So when I was getting started, I got starting with far fewer than 25.
Right.
And those clients are still with me today, 20 years later, and, still generating residual. So Kendra, that's really where it starts. So here's what I want you to do though. Get a piece of paper and actually make a list of 25. Some of these could be the restaurant that you eat at. I prefer as many of them as possible be manufacturers for the reason what we're talking about.
Right.
But listen, at the same time, if you eat at a restaurant and Joe, the owner, is there on Tuesdays and write that name down. I don't mean to belabor this, but Kendra, we need to do this. We need to write this down, grab a blank piece of paper and write these down. I like that you did this. Here's some inspiration. Now, these tend to be about the R&D tax credit.
Right. Because we're focused on R&D, most of this page, not all of it, but it is heavy on R&D. But if you need anything for cost seg, you can go back to the Toolbox homepage and find more for that. But there's even tools for that here. I wanted you to be able to look at something very simple and wrap your mind around businesses in your area that would qualify. And keep in mind, I don't have a tire company listed here, but we just closed one that's an amazing R&D client.
Yeah.
I don't have recycling on here, but we just closed one that's an amazing recycling, So be open-minded. Don't say, well, it wasn't on the list, Kendra, so I'm sorry.
I like that. Use the word inspiration here.
Yeah, this is inspiration. This is, I didn't realize there's a factory down the road. It's really small, but they make
I got to tell you, I made my entire first living, in this industry out of this box right here. So you could really just go out there for a few of these companies. Once you get in, you're going to get in front of a couple of CPAs. And then next thing you know it, that's, that's how you build your business, because those CPAs are going to say, oh, you helped my client out. So anyways, get out your piece of paper and write out 25 names, make it a blend of some warm, some cold. Kendra, I wish I could say it more plainly, but again, this is not gimmicky. This is, for a lot of you professionals, you can look back and say, well, this is what I did. This is what I did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Yeah. You know why? Is it works.
Because it works. And sometimes just having a physical piece of paper, or if you use your iPad or your computer, whatever, having these names in a physical place and having to take the time to document them does something. I don't know what it is, but it does something to your mindset. And it allows you to begin working them. There's
something about, whether it's an iPad or whatever, about physically writing, in my opinion. So I'd recommend you write it. Give a little thumbs up if you're a writer. If you're a writerer. Is that a word? I don't think it's a word. But give it a little heart. Can I see some hearts? I only have one heart for the entire. Oh, that's because you can only heart if you're on YouTube. So everybody that's just watching on the website can't. By the way, take just a moment. We post these kind of things and great videos. We posted a new video today about what to do with when you're in front of a client on the YouTube page. If you're on there, make sure to subscribe. I feel so weird saying that. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Ding.
Yeah. No, that's how you're going to see stuff. If you're watching on the website, click on that YouTube link, get over there and subscribe. You're going to want to do that. So, because we release content on there. So go do that. Now, Kendra, after that, we're raising awareness.
Right. And we talked about this in that funnel. This is the first step. This is the fun step. Have fun with it. Get out there. Do
this is
your
quick
posts.
And easy. So
yes, it's so easy. And I actually like the fact that it's easy because it breaks the ice. It gets you in there. It gets you working. Get those initial emails out. Get those social posts running. When I say running, because you need to keep doing it. You can't just post it and walk away and be like, I didn't get anything. It's a part of a process. So start those getting posted. Start sending out those initial emails.
So Kendra, let's talk about what to send. And I'm going to park on this first one for a little bit. So we've got email. Well, first, let me give an overview. You got email close contact, email general. We've got some HTML email templates here, which are just beautiful. I'll talk about those in a minute. And then we have social posts. These are the kinds of items in Raise Awareness. Kendra, I want to talk about this first one for just a minute. This is close contact. So after you've got your list of 25, you should be using this one right here. And I love this email. I've used this personally so much. I've used variations of it for SMS, for text, or Facebook Messenger. It can be used, it says email, but it can be used in any medium where you have close contact that you could reach out to. And I want to we can't read all of them, but I want to spend a few minutes on this because I've had so much personal success with this. So some sort of, really, I could say this first part, Kendra, is just reference something initial.
Yeah, this is a close contact. So you have something in common with them, whether it's your family, it's your real estate agent, it's something, you have some connection. Reference it so that it's just not this cold, generic,
so examples of this would be, I'm going to start with personal and then move into previous business. So examples of this on the personal side is, hey, John, look like you and the kids had a great time out at Glacier National Park. Whatever the case is, like reference something personal. Hey, can't believe summer's already over. Looks like you got the kids all back to college. Like anything, just reference something personal. On the business side, if not, it's, hey, hope everything's working out on that new policy we wrote, or whatever the case is, just reference something. And then here's the turn. Jason and I have been talking about that in SWAT quite a bit.
I need to answer a question.
Go ahead.
So Elizabeth asks if name in the HTML code would add your client's email. No. When you're using these, you're cutting and pasting these. If there's something in those brackets, you have to change that. I can't. I wish I had magical code that could know who you're going to send this to and pop it in. I don't.
Such an excuse.
So, but the information, like when you scroll down, it does pull in your signature line. That I can do. I cannot perceive who you're sending it to and send that and tie that information in. So if there's brackets of any kind in the email, you have to change that information before you send it.
Yeah. So then there's the turn. So after you've referenced previous business or something personal, now there's the turn of why you're emailing. Okay. And so that is with all the new tax credits have been released for. Now, here's the encouragement I want to make for you. I hate that this says for business. Don't leave it for businesses, for manufacturers, for restaurants, for employers.
Yeah, make it more
like
direct.
do something personal.
Mm-hmm.
So with all the new tax credits that have been released for restaurants, our company's released new specialized tax incentive division. Okay. This part's important. I say that too much. Sorry. The reason that we do that is to let you off the hook. Okay. Because if you're Ryan the realtor, what are you doing talking to them about tax incentives? So you don't have to be the expert in this. And this is why this is close contact. So with this, Kendra, we're saying, hey, with all the new tax credits for manufacturers, our company's added a new specialized tax division. So now, Kendra, I just got to ask. So I'm going to pick somebody, the lady that writes your individual healthcare policy. Okay. You've been with her for years. And if she emailed you and said, hey, I wanted to talk to you about whatever this other category, like there's some loss of credibility there, but at the same time,
it would feel strange. It would feel like, did she working somewhere else?
Oh,
like,
are you not my insurance rep anymore?
Yeah, are you still representing my policy? But if she ties in the fact that she's added something new, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That comes full circle for me, and I trust her, so I'll take a look at it.
Yeah. So that's where it's like, instead of this, why are you talking to me about this? It has some credibility. So the purpose of this division is so that our clients have easy access to the 2.3 trillion that's been available for small, mid-sized companies. Although we'll be making this program available to the entire Southeast Michigan area later this year, I've been authorized to pre-release it to my existing clients. Okay. I love this email. We started using this probably over a year ago, and I've just seen such success with it. You can do a 60-second search that's going to look at all the programs you're available for. Although I'd ask that you not make it public if you have a friend or direct contact. I love this line right here.
Yeah, this email just works.
It works. I've used this so many times. You know what happens when you tell people, Kendra, don't make this public?
Don't share this.
Yeah, they share this.
It just becomes like, ooh.
Yeah. So, yeah. Now, some people may say, I don't like that. I feel it's underhand. That's okay.
Take it out. If you're not comfortable with something, or it's not your voice, it doesn't come across as authentic to you, just change it to match your tone, your personality.
Now, right now, this is going over to the R&D page because that's our focus right now. And remember, somebody said, how do I find my calculator? Well, here's a page. It's got a video on it. Check your eligibility. Remember what we said earlier? Heather, would you flip me to slides for just a second? And it's only going to be all things point to the calculator. Okay. So what we've done is we raised awareness. We're in the raise awareness section. And if we're lucky, Kendra, they're going to bypass direct communication. We don't even have to talk to them. We don't have to cultivate, and they're just going to go over there and calculate. Now, once someone gets to the calculate page, we have between a 25 and a 37.5% conversion rate. I used a range there because it changes by quarter. Right now we're in tax season, so it tends to be on the higher end of that range. So Heather, you can take me back to, there we go. So you notice that our raise awareness email, it's going to point towards, I didn't save my page, towards a website that's going to give them some more information. All things point to the calculator. This is where we want to get them. Our goal isn't to get them to watch a video. The video is because, Kendra, why do you include videos in emails?
If you add a video, and then if you also add it in your subject line, it raises your open rate by like 26%.
And it also increases your deliverability rate.
Yes, because it gives, it makes it authentic. Like the system can see, oh, that's a legitimate link. It actually takes them to something that has video content. Video content, right? Raises your deliverability by an immense amount.
And this is true on everything. It's true on email platforms. It's true on social.
Because this email
direct messaging.
doesn't need a video to it. It's there to increase the opportunity for them to open it.
Listen, if we could just say, click here to calculate your benefit. In fact, that is right here. That will take them directly to the calculator. So that's your
can I
close
point
contact.
something out? I
Yeah,
think
please
there's
do.
some confusion, not really sure why, but people don't understand that their site isn't just gmg.me. See how this is appendaged? We use this one because this is a fake account. It's Ryan and I's name. Don't use this. When you go into your toolbox, everywhere your pages direct to gmg.me, there'll be a slash and a number. That number belongs to you.
Just like this. Pages,
that's your calculator.
RD, tax, credit, and
Yeah.
then slash your number. So
and every one of your links on your landing pages are going to take them there.
This is why it's important to use your toolbox, because your toolbox, all these links, you don't have to change any of them, Kendra. They are all programmed already. And they're your page. Look what at the bottom it says Ryan and Kendra Maddox, Senior Advisor, phone number, email address. That'll have your name, your email address, your phone number.
If you scroll up, I want to answer Kevin's question. Kevin asked, if you're using not a manufacturer, will this page still pop up? If this is the link in there, but this isn't just for manufacturers. This entire page is for the R&D tax credit as a whole, which includes way more than just manufacturing.
But they can go look at all the other.
But they can look at everything from that top bar there too.
I've seen, no one asked it today, but people say, why do you still have ERC on your site? ERC is still a pretty big Google search result. And although a lot of people have taken it, if somebody's looking for an ERC provider, we want to introduce them into all the other programs that are available to them. So, we're not, I don't know when we'll take it down. It's hard to say. It could be a few weeks from now.
There's strategic reasons why it's still there and it works to your benefit. So
we'll take it down when it stops driving traffic is the bottom line. So until then, don't be afraid, because once they get there, the first thing that we're going to do is show them all the other programs they qualify for. So again, so you find your bearing. We're still under raise awareness. So here's some ways to raise awareness. Make your list. First thing you want to do if they're close contact. So Kendra, true or false, I just copy that and change the things that are in brackets, right?
That's exactly true. The link will work. Most often the box will show up in like this cute little HTML box and everything. It has the same. Every once in a while you run into a system that maybe doesn't format it exactly. Just take the few minutes to reformat it. You don't have to email me and tell me that my thing doesn't work. It probably just has to do with some compatibility. It may not be compatible with every single email program out there, but for the most part, they pop in and they work really, really well.
So Kendra, in quick fire fashion, walk us through the rest of this section, the raise awareness.
So you'll notice that our emails, especially our intros, are very streamlined, very bullet pointy right now, because that's what gets read. This one is also just a general email. And when you're looking at it, you see boost my cash flow, reduce my tax liability. It's not just for tech. Oh, what is this? So that's going to draw their attention there. Again, this one actually performed really well in our internal testing. So make sure you use this one a little bit.
Now, for those that are in premium, we have HTML templates.
And you guys will notice there are a lot more there than have been in the past. My team has been working their behinds off to get them tested and out here. We have some beautiful new HTML, one that's specific for the R&D tax credit. You see it there on the far right. It's got this beautiful flag on it and everything. There's another one that is about, what does it say? You
might be saying, I don't have a fancy
You don't have
platform.
to. This is okay. Yeah. So we put a lot of work into these guys, and I don't want to.
Let me show you how easy this is.
I'm going to toot their horn for a while, and mine, because I make some of these too. It takes a lot of work to make these cut and pastable for you. It's not just getting into a program and making HTML and posting it. There's a lot more work that goes into that.
Heather, did you lose my screen?
But basically, Ryan, he just highlighted this. If you highlight between the two green sections, you can copy and paste this over to almost all platforms.
I just send them out of Gmail.
Gmail works perfectly.
Not mass emailing. Remember, this is only 25 people.
No, don't complain to me that this doesn't work with MailChimp or whatever, because they're not meant to. These are meant for you to use on the individual scale for your 25 or so.
You right click
when you paste
and
this
click
over,
copy.
Yep, and you paste it over into Gmail or whatever you're using, you get the same beautiful email
it works.
that goes out, and it's coming from you.
We've tried this with Yahoo, Hotmail, Gmail, all those types of systems. There's a couple I want to highlight here, Kendra. So this one right here, this is an overview on R&D. These are beautiful templates.
Yeah, Doug's question. Doug, they only work in an email platform. They're not meant to be used socially, the social posts. work for that. This HTML will not work if you try to socially post it. It's just not designed that way.
So I love this one as well. The next one's my favorite, but I really like this one.
Vince
so
has a good question. What is HTML? You want to know what's funny? I know what it is because I'm in marketing. I can't remember what it stands for. What is it?
It's how to meet ladies. So
why do you know
it doesn't matter. You don't need to know.
You don't need to know what HTML means.
What you need is beautiful emails.
It looks like you are this legitimate, amazing company who has the time and the money to invest in a marketing department, because it took a marketing department to make these for you.
Now, these are only part of premium. Premium costs money. If you're not in premium, you don't have to join premium to be successful. We gave you a lot of emails, and let's kind of save a Q&A window and stay in this for a little bit. So the last one I want you to talk through a little bit, Kendra, is the this one. So
this email is specifically for manufacturers, and we pulled, this is one of our industry specific. We have 4 of them right now. We're expanding that currently. But this one just gets some really amazing response. And I think it's because it's a direct, it's direct messaging to manufacturers. It talks to them in their language. It answers questions that we found over time they ask.
Talks about the new state
credits. It just has really great results. And my only assumption is because it's so direct to them and who they are. Like even the imagery and the colors we picked for this were specific for that. So it has great results. And I want to make sure you guys are, getting a chance to use this one because it works really well.
The last thing under raise awareness, I'm not going to spend too much time on because it doesn't take you long to do, but Kendra, that is social post. So they should be posting every day
regularly,
or every business day, or at least 3 times a week. We've seen some questions here today of I didn't get any deals. Remember, social posts and this whole section is about raising awareness. Okay. It's only the first step in the equation. Heather, just hit me back to slides for just a second. Okay. So now that we've talked, first we made our list, and now we've done that section that we just shown. Kendra, we took way longer to describe that section than it takes to do that section.
We really did.
This is a few moments of time. So I guess just so everybody understands, now we're moving into the hard work, but we're also moving into where you see real conversion.
Results,
So Heather, back to the page a little bit. Once we're through raising awareness, Kendra, talk to us a little bit about this, because now we're at this point of establishing contact.
Right. And this is kind of in between. It's cultivating and it's direct contact kind of mixed together a little bit. There's a great little video link here. It's that role-playing video training that we've condensed a bit and made available for you. It's right here. Everybody loves it. It just kind of shows the ease that you can really move through a client meeting with. And then the scripts that are here, as well as the follow-up emails, are tailored for the type of conversation that you're going to have. We've showed you how you can take a script and adjust it to make it a text as well. Just some great tools to kind of continue and make that direct contact.
Yeah. So, once you're all of these really are designed about scoring the appointment. That's, a good way to say it is because all these tend to, hey, we should get together. Now, what do you do once you're actually in person? And Kendra, you just said it, but you go back to this link right here.
I think one of the reasons everybody enjoys this training video is because it shows ease.
Yeah.
When you're comfortable and you're confident in what you're saying, and you know that you don't have to have an exact answer for every question, and you're okay with that, it shows how easy the conversation can be with a client. And there's another tool in here that's going to make that even easier for you.
But you don't need to, let me say it this way too. You don't really need to watch that video until you have the appointment.
Right.
You can make your list without having watched the video. You can raise awareness you can send this text. Hey, hope you're doing well. Now let's talk about concept of this for a second. So now this goes back to the point earlier of, whatever the case is, do you guys take advantage of the R&D tax credit? Now, I don't mind doing this when it comes to asking an open-ended question, because I'm going to show you some. Kendra will do this twice. The first time you say yes, second time you say no. Okay. Because it works either way. Hey, Kendra. Hope all is well. Hey, did you guys take advantage of the R&D tax credit?
No, not this year. Or I don't know the last time we did. I know what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's a really good program for businesses. Now I'm going to say it kind of in an affirmative. It's a payroll credit. And unlike PPP, which are temporary, these are programs that, and I kind of go through that whole aspect of things. Okay. Now, if she says, and here's where I like this one a little better. So did you guys take advantage of ERC or the PPP program?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. So if she says yes, those are both temporary programs that Congress never renewed. But there's $2.3 trillion in pre-existing programs that have been around for decades. And then it goes on to say, here's my link, go check it out. Or it could say, we need to get together and talk.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, all things point to the calculator. But let's change it up, be difficult now. And when I ask you this question right here, you just, yes, we take it every year. I'm a big believer in it. So, hey, Kendra, I hope all's well. Do you guys take advantage of the R&D tax credit?
Yeah, my CPA handles it. We take it every single year and qualify.
Okay. Well, obviously I'm not going to say this back, guys, but here's what I am going to say. It's a great program. Now there are $2.3 trillion in programs just like it that have been around for decades. Okay. So no matter what they say, and that's where it is tricky, Bev, to your question earlier, when you lead in with something can be tricky because you end up in this kind of gotcha moment that
I think it comes down to, getting familiar with the content and practicing.
Yeah.
Like even if you're sitting down with your spouse or a partner or something, somebody you work with, practice these, kind of flow back and forth, get comfortable so that you can bounce around in a conversation naturally.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you put a little bit of time in to do that, you're going to feel so confident and so comfortable when you're out there talking to people.
Yep.
It's going to change the way you interact.
So, and you might change these as long as you're local in the area. So, instead of our company's built a quick search tool, I'm going to mix and match here a little bit more, Kendra. And that is, it's been way too long. We should catch up. I owe you a cup of coffee. What does Tuesday look like?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Just this is where you can kind of mix and match these a little bit. But the point is, Kendra, this entire section is establishing contact. What you're doing is you're getting a meeting or you're getting a WebEx set up, a Zoom, whatever the case is. Once you do that, go watch this video so you feel prepared for it. Okay. So that is all establishing contact. Once we've done that, we've had a meeting. Hopefully they've just signed and they went through the calculator. They're in production. But let's say they haven't, because this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I said 25 to 37.5% are going to go on to result in a fee. So let's talk about all the other ones. They're going to take multiple touches after the case. I'll let you talk about this section here.
So if you scroll down just a little bit, we know that like scientifically it's proven that it's going to take multiple, I think it's 5 to 8 times of interacting or emailing or speaking or even meetings to get somebody to act. And so this section has some very specific follow-up emails, things of that nature, is to kind of get them to initiate and reach out and actually go to the calculator and do what we want them to do. Some are longer, some are shorter. This is where you're also going to find the follow-up for cost seg. There's a feasibility one. There's one if they have a client card already. Now, one thing I want to point out, if you do get somebody to calculate, if they've been through the calculator and they have a client card, you're going to go here, because that means that the emails above, you don't want to send those. Those are for people that
We're not going to cover this in training today, but there's an article right here.
Yeah.
You don't want to send them back to the calculator because that's going to start their journey
all
over
over
again.
again. They've already inputted information. They already have a contact. So you want to move that along. So you're going to go here, read up on this. This is going to be kind of the information you use to continue to facilitate and cultivate those who actually did fill out the calculator, but did not move forward for some reason.
From there, we've got some social posts that we've highlighted for just this month. Kendra, this is a small fraction of our library of social posts.
I need to kind of get them in and mix them back up, but there's some great ones here and there's more on the other page, which we've linked right there.
At the bottom, we've got common questions, how to respond. So I'm not going to cover these today, but we already have a CPA.
This is that section I was talking about that's going to make you feel even more confident. If you get in and practice these with somebody and you're thrown one of these questions, it doesn't leave you like, I don't know what to say. So it just gives you that as like your little back pocket secret weapon, because you're completely aware and ready to keep the conversation moving forward. Someone did point out to me a typo. I think it's just in the image of the one HTML, but I'll double check and make sure for you guys.
Heather, go ahead. You can drop this off. Let's take some questions. So actually I'll need my screen back. I'm sorry, Heather. So I want to cover this first one. So we had 100 employees show 2.6 million. Is this too good to be true? Let's find out together. So good question there. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go to one of my pages and I'm going to check my eligibility. And this also answers what is the calculator. So a manufacturer,
You're looking at the calculator, guys.
they have 100 employees. Let's say they hire 20 people a year. Okay. So I don't know where you're at. So here's what I'm going to do to make it easy. I'm going to assume that, let's just say 100 employees, and let's say that they pay $60,000 a piece. Okay. Don't yell at me in the comments. Now, they have some $100,000 people. They have some $80,000 people. They have some $30,000 people. Okay. So I'm just going to use 6 million in payroll. And for the first program, we are at 336,000. Well, let's say they pay their people a little bit less, Kendra, and let's go 4.2 million in payroll. And what was the number? That 2.6 million. So it looks, I'm guessing, like before anything else, they had a 4.6. Let's see how close I can get. Yeah, that's. Oh, actually, I don't know that. Okay, so I just read with the comments. I don't know if you typed that ZZZZ properly. I guess it depends on how much they. I think somebody added an extra zero. There.
I think there's an extra zero in their annual payroll.
Yeah.
So the number was
so
not
46 million in payroll.
Yeah, there you go. Somebody typoed or fat fingered that number because unless they actually have that number in payroll. So I doubt it for 100 employees. So I think somebody just accidentally put in an extra zero.
350 grand a piece or something. But then here's where the number can drive up. So do they own any commercial property? Kendra, let's say they own 3 properties. So manufacturing. I can't multitask or anything, guys. So manufacturing.
You can always, I guess, one of the things you want to take away from this question too is if you have a question about the calculation, just go back and double check the information you put looks accurate. If for some reason the client entered the 4.6 or the 46 million, you can be like, that doesn't seem like that's the right amount of money for an employee size of 100. Like you can figure that out by taking a look back at the numbers a little bit and kind of using some math there.
So let's say they own a few facilities. I'm going to go through this process. And, so now we're at 600,000 and let's say they have operations in, these states and these counties and things like that. So Kendra, we're at $844,000. This is the first time we're going to ask the client, where do you want your report sent? So that's the calculator. Once they enter their info and they click the next button, 25 to 37.5% are going to go on to result in a fee. Okay. So this is why you want to get them.
Can you say that again? So we push calculator.
See the pulsing button right there?
For a reason. Once you get them here, what's the percentage again?
Once they fill this out, that's the difference. The first name, last name, we don't ask for much. Once they fill that out and they click next, 25 to 37.5%, depending on time of year and some other factors, are going to go on to result in a fee. We're going to find them a benefit. They're going to move forward with the program. So that's why it's so important that you get those clients in. So good question. I saw another one. Here it was right here. And Kendra, I don't know if Heather, if there's any other question you want to kick over to Stard. Go ahead.
I wanted to answer Vince's question. So Vince, hypertext markup language is what HTML stands for.
So Kendra, flip over to Stard and I'll have Heather start to pop us some as we go through. You can help me manage these a little bit. So the first one I want to take is, so we can't sell cost seg or R&D without TMS. No, that's not true. So let's talk about this. So Kendra, once somebody clicks the next button, they're going to be given the opportunity to set up their account. The majority of companies are going to do that. We want them to do that because that's going to get them into the system. They're vested, that kind of thing. But if somebody doesn't, if they just bail, they click next, they're like, I don't want to be in the system, whatever the case is, and they bail, we're still going to drive them to their cost sake feasibility report. We're going to drive them to their R&D page. So no, you don't have to go into the TMS. Go
and
ahead.
what you can do to move that forward is go to your client card and utilize the activation link that's there. It's right there on the client card. You can get that. You can text it to them. You can share it in person, and that will move them through the activation of those individual products. And then when it comes back around after we're in production, we can take a look at the rest that TMS has to offer.
Now, I'm zooming in for a minute, Kendra. I want to focus on us. Here's why you want them in TMS. I just was looking at an R&D the other day, and I wanted to share it on the call as a way not to do things. But Kendra told me that that's wrong and I shouldn't do things like that. But the R&D we looked at where the way not to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a advisor that insisted we talk on the client. They said, I don't want my client to have to join TMS, and went through this whole process. And so as they're doing that, they wanted to do it backwards a little bit, and they got doc collect and things like that. And I looked through the notes in the client card, and for a full year, the advisor is in there and they're entering the client and they're sending doc requests.
I'm going to be honest. It was just this circle of everybody communicating and trying to look really fancy and using a lot of big words for about a year.
Yeah. And listen, the team leader's doing it. I mean, I was like mousing over and reading the emails. I mean, we're sending good emails, but the client's not vested at all. They're not in our system. They don't use all the benefits that TMS has. They're not in there. They're not using it.
And then we encouraged everybody on a broadcast to use this very simple follow-up email. Very simple. Just
like the ones we're showing today.
Directed him
to
TMS.
It was about follow-up.
And he did, which was great. And they activated immediately.
Advisor fired 2 emails within a few days of each other. The first one was one of the emails we came out with, and the other one, and this was last February, like 6 months ago, however long ago that was.
He trusted the process.
Yeah.
And he let us guide him.
He went into the client card. He fired the 2 emails. Mm-hmm. And I'm literally like, I wish I could show everybody the client card, but I'm not making this stuff up. So
then it's boom, 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 done. It just went so quickly from that point forward. And it was obvious what the difference was. And I'm not saying that the follow-up and interaction before didn't have an impact.
Advisor did a great job. It's just when the client's vested.
Once they realized what they could do, and it was the simplicity of the information that was sent to them that caught them. That was that.
Yeah. There's another part to it too, that once someone is in a system and their client, let me go at this 2 different ways. So the first one, Kendra, I'm going to go back into role play mode a little bit. So if I come and, I need you to work with me on this executive decision, this big project, this takes your time, your focus, your energy. But if I get you in the tax management system, what's the first thing, just like QuickBooks?
One of the first questions the tax management system asks is, who will be handling this on your behalf, like your staff member? Because an owner is not going to do it. They're just not, unless they're a single owner, and that's a different situation. But if they have any level of staff, they're going to assign their staff members, even though there's not a lot of time involved. There's a little bit of document gathering after they're in and we need to confirm some stuff, but they're going to assign it to someone. And the system takes them through those steps. So don't second guess the system, guys. It's designed, as soon as they're in, it moves them through so quickly.
Kendra's not exaggerating, because after that, what happened was client enrolled in TMS because of one of the emails. Okay, they made a $9 decision. What we did is we took away, Kendra, I want you to make this few $100,000 decision. Instead, we said, we want you to make a $9 decision. Kendra made it like that. Okay, the Kendra. Then they were in the system. First thing we do is we email and say, who do you want? Well, they just paid $9. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to assign it to someone to use. So they assigned it to someone in their accounting department. Now, because they're already engaged, they're already in the system, the person in the accounting department uploaded the documents. Guys, it was $175,000 in fees over the course of just the first 5 months.
Mhm.
I'm not making this up. I'm not like, I would have no reason to. Why would I shoot myself in the foot on a bigger deal over making $9 unless it was the single best way to do things? So that question came from this right here. I'm going to go back to it. Felipe. Can you sell cost seg and R&D without TMS? Absolutely. Our system does it. Once you get into the calculator, it's going to do it for you. However, you want to encourage them to get into the system for all the reasons that I just said. Sometimes in trying to save your client $9, you could cost yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars in future commissions. So you don't want to do that. So Kendra, do you have another question line?
This one's interesting. When a business receives a tax credit, does the IRS try to control the direction of the business like they do with PPP?
Good question, Ernest.
I want to say, I don't know that the IRS tried to control the direction. There were certain things you could spend the money on.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going. So the good thing about the programs that we're looking at currently is that these are often physical checks to the shareholders, to the owners.
Once
and when
that
I say
money
shareholders,
is theirs,
that sounds big, but
it's theirs, and they get to do with it what they choose.
Yeah, they can pay off their boat.
Yeah,
they can pay off their house. They can pay back credit card debt. They could loan it. You ready for this? They could loan it back to the company for capital improvements. It's their individual money in a lot of cases. Now, the entity type could drive that, but in the majority of cases, we see this is money that's coming to the owners, and then they'll either choose to loan it back to the company, which has some tax advantages and things like that. So I'll pull another one away. So what does the TMS cost the client? It depends on the type of company and things like that, but it starts out about $9 a month. So it just depends on the company.
There's a question here about has DERC calculator been updated for Elena? We only update it when they issue new disaster areas. There haven't been new disaster areas issued since the last time we checked for the update. When they do, then we'll update the calculator.
I want to explain there just even one step further. It's not updated per disaster. It's updated per area. So if we're already collecting data in this area and then that area has another wildfire, I'm looking at you, California. We don't need to change because there's already a credit, and like the old tax year might have fallen off and then there's a new one. So we don't necessarily have to make an update because we're already capturing that data. So good question.
Great question from Rod. Once the client gets TMS, will you open all doors they qualify for? I'd guess we get all commissions that are found since we introduced them, or do we need to go back periodically for other programs? So once they're in, they always belong to you, Rod. So anything that's generated, any credits that are generated, any fees, you get the commission for that.
Let me take it further before you go. Said client that you brought in for just one program, just WOTC, Work Opportunity Tax Credit. They come in as part of that. We identify R&D. You get paid on that R&D. But let me go a step further. Then we submit the R&D report to the CPA. One of our internal specialists talks to said CPA. This happens all the time. Said CPA says, I have other manufacturers. Guess what, Rod, is it? Yeah, Rod. All those clients are yours.
Yeah.
Because, Heather, would you go back to my screen? Here's what we're going to send the CPA. We're going to come over here and we're going to email them and we're going to send them to one of your landing pages. I'm not exaggerating. Our internal reps don't have their own agent codes. They have to send
We
one
have
of
a
yours.
system in place where it's not able to, a client is not able to move forward with any product other than with you.
Yeah.
So once they're in and they're with you, they belong to you.
Thanks, Heather.
As
I'm good
far
with
as
this page.
revisiting, I always recommend to, check up on the client card periodically to see where your client's at. The production department is always making continual notes in there. Every once in a while, they'll reach out to you if they need you to get involved with anything, but usually you don't. So just to keep up to date, take a peek at the client card every now and then.
Well, and then, it's great to follow up for things like, hey, I want to get in contact with your CPA, or what's some other people that we could work with? I'm sure you've got other friends that are manufacturers, things like that. So, but Rod, I wanted you to understand these stay with you, and so do the CPAs. That Kendra, I think we have time for one more question.
Yep. I think there's some confusion over like how something gets declared as a disaster. So, just because the declared by disaster by president is a separate thing than being added to the list of disaster areas
that have a tax credit under DERC.
So when we say declared as a disaster area, they may be with president and stuff, and very reasonably so. They may not have made that to the point where they've been actually added to the list. It does take them some time, and they're always retroactive. So absolutely, North Carolina has been declared a disaster area. I totally get that. They're not on the list yet.
But they could be like a year from now.
They probably will be. And that's why we revisit. And that's why TMS is so important, because a client that's in there right now, we know they're in that area. We're going to track that. We're going to keep
pull my laptop back
up to date with that. And then when that's added, we can reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, you qualify because you're in X area in North Carolina.
I want to show you how little info we gather. Name, company name, first name, last name, the role, because we just want to know the tone of the communication we're having, email address, phone number, so we can reach out, zip code, this one right here. So Kendra, we capture this. So we know the zip code of every client who's went this far in our, marketing process. And the reason for that is so that, even if later there's a credit for that area, like for example, there's a big credit that came out this year for Georgia.
Georgia's huge this year.
Yeah. And so we can go look at the zip codes in Georgia in our database, and we can go work directly with them and get them. That's part of the tax management system. That's part of what they're, paying for. And Rod, to your earlier question, this is your client. So we come back years later after you, got somebody over to a page to enroll. You're still on that account. And so as long as you're active, and still with us, then yeah, absolutely. That's still your account.
My next question, if we can we go back to their, the main page that we're focused on this, right now, yep. So on the page that we're sending you guys to, which again, you can get to on the Toolbox homepage via the banner at the top. Joe asks, can you review the client card? There's actually a section on this page that gives you an article and step-by-step how to access and review your client cards. And if for some reason you don't know where to find this later, reach out to support. They'll send you the same information. You can access every single client that's entered a calculation. They become a client card. So that's where you can find that, or you can reach out to support. They'll be happy to help you with that as well. Denise asks, can you remove clients who are no longer interested? You can, Denise, just go in there under the product and you can disposition it how you see fit, right? Or they can add information to it. Yeah.
Yep.
And you can do that because that's your client card. RC asks a good question. Will some states have their tax deadlines extended? I believe that some areas of Florida have, maybe all of Florida already. I haven't double checked that. One of the partners on today's call said to February 15th. I don't know as far as any of the other states just yet if they'll have, October 15th pushed out at all. It's possible, but we won't know until they decide. And when they decide, they'll put out news and then we'll know about it more. Great questions, everybody.
Yeah. Wow, we are way over on time.
This one last question. A lot of, we have so many new, and welcome everyone. If this is your first or your second broadcast, welcome to the call.
We don't normally go an hour and 47 minutes. So
a lot of questions about where do I find my calculator? What's the website address? If you have any level of question,
let me post.
But I also want to say, if you have any level of question, sometimes it's hard to grasp everything as we're moving through it so quickly on a broadcast. Reach out to the support department, take 10 minutes, do your welcome call. If you decided to skip that, maybe we should revisit the welcome call, because our support department will show you where to find everything. We have what's called a marketing toolbox available to you when you log into the portal. And from there, you'll find that your toolbox link is everywhere, everywhere.
So I just posted this link in here. And what this does, because this I can give to everyone. So you have one of two options you can do once you land on the link that I just sent you. One is you can enter your partner ID. Okay, that's your 6-digit ID. If you know what that is going to take you to your individual page. And Kendra, from there, this is your calculator. This is everything.
And you can navigate to the rest of the pages of the toolbox by going to Toolbox Home at the top there. Yep. So this is every tool you would ever need is in here, guys.
So maybe you know your partner ID. Maybe you know your username and password to the portal. That's the username and password you selected when you became active. And if you don't know either one of those, contact support. But that's so basically, if you know your 6-digit ID, that's an easy way. Your 6-digit ID, as Kendra mentions, the ID that's at the end of your website. Portal credentials is exactly that. It's username and password that you entered. And
That'll get you there.
yeah. So that can get you. So once you do that, that's going to get you to this page. And if not, click support. So in the comments, I just posted that. So all right. Kendra, I think we're in good shape, right?
I think so.
Wow. Thank you everybody for really staying there till
Do
the
you want to
end.
quickly mention that our thoughts go out to anyone in the Florida, North Carolina, the path of the hurricane and the one that's coming? You're in our thoughts and our prayers, and just stay safe. And everybody, be thinking about you, and we hope that everything goes well, especially with this new storm coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck this week and stay safe. So thank you, everybody, and have a great week. Take advantage of this blueprint that the marketing team's
We
put
worked
together
hard for it. Let's get it out there and use. Reach out to support if you have any questions.
Absolutely.